I've just been reading a worrying report about smart motorways. I'm a great fan of the old-fashioned type of motorways, you know, the ones with the hard shoulder, so that if anything went wrong, you would begin to think, oh, hang on, that noise is a bit funny, isn't it? Maybe I should pull over. How far is it to the next service station? Oh, it's still a couple of miles. Or what's that smoke coming out? Or I've got a burst tyre. Can I make it there? Or I've just lost power. All these decisions as you're going along thinking, what should I do? And then if you do decide that you might be able to limp for a while, you can go into the hard shoulder. Or if you think, well, I'd better stop, I'll get into the hard shoulder, pull the car over as far to the left as I possibly can, and then get out of the car and onto the bank into safety, so that if anything else comes swerving off onto the hard shoulder, I am going to be okay. I much rather that system, but we've had foisted upon us these new smart motorways, and I'm very nervous about them. I was very irritated when they first came along because of all the long delays as they were setting them up, with all the different cones and the speeding you down, or slowing you down, I should put it, down to 40 miles an hour or 50 for miles upon miles. And now, when we get them, we discover that they're not actually as smart as they should be because of the technology. And we know that there have been some deaths on these already, which is what makes it very worrying. So the report here, and I've written it down on a bit of paper just so I get the facts and figures right, because I don't want to sort of get this wrong. It says here that the detection rates of stopped vehicles, that'll be obviously someone's conked out, stopped on the near side lane, there's no hard shoulder, so near side lane, on one of these motorways, which they call all lanes running, is between, the detection rates is between 59.6%, so nearly 60%, and 79.6%, so nearly 80%. So the detection rates are between more or less 60%, so that's just over half, to 80%. Now the target is 80%, which means there's 20% of which they've never even targeted, so that you could stop, and if you happen to be on that, God knows what's supposed to happen to you guys. So that's worrying in itself. And then it goes on and it says 4 out of 5 of the regions that are running these schemes are failing to detect stopped vehicles in less than 20 seconds. So you stop, there you are on that motorway, something's gone wrong, bang, you've got a flat tyre, nowhere to go, and you've stopped, or your engine's conked out, or there's smoke, and you nervously have no choice but to stop. Presumably get out the car as quickly as you can. But bear in mind, you're on this piece of motorway in which behind you, legally at 70 miles an hour, could be other vehicles, including small cars or indeed lorries. And what if there's a lorry coming along and somebody's in the middle lane, driving along, the lorry's on the inside lane, blocking whilst you're trying to overtake this lorry, because it's only going, say, 60 and you're going 70, you're late for the doctor and you've got to get there, and you're legally driving at the proper speed, and it's got this moving blind spot, which it suddenly sees, oh, there's a car ahead. So it starts to slow down, wanting to come into your lane. You're trying to get over into the inside lane, not seeing the car, and then suddenly you've got in on the inside lane, but there's a car about 10 feet in front of you, and nasty accident. Not just for you, but for the lorry. I mean, to me, it just seems insane. I would love to know who's in favour of these smart motorways, especially if they're only going to detect you supposedly within the 20 seconds. I mean, it's got cameras and technology and all of that, but we all know that technology, as great as it is when it works, we've all experienced that thing that, well, it doesn't always work all of the time. How many times have we had to restart our computer, or something's frozen and what have you? And when you're dealing with people travelling in boxes, going in 3 lanes at up to 70 miles an hour and possibly more, and suddenly the technology is not working, it's just, I don't know, it seems to me to be not a very smart idea. As I said at the beginning, I would much rather have the old-fashioned hard shoulder where you, the driver, can judge what is going to be a safe time to pull over and where to stop. You can look in your mirror, you might go, oh, I've got a flat tire, I've got to stop fairly soon, but there's this vehicle behind me. Actually, if I put my hazards on and I make a slow approach into the hard shoulder, everybody can see what's happening to me. I think that was a far, far safer. Now, it may mean that we still restrict and we don't have enough lanes to get the population going. But since the pandemic, haven't everybody been encouraged to work at home anyway? And many more people are still working at home if they can and doing Zoom meetings. So maybe the traffic isn't as high as it ever was. I don't know. You tell me. Are you a fan of the smart motorway? Or do you prefer a little bit of autonomy in your life with a hard shoulder?